Assalamu alaikum everyone and welcome to Ordinary Days. In this video we are going to discuss ascending tracts. These tracts, they are part of your central nervous system module, and in this whole topic I am going to discuss the ascending tracts, or the tracts that are going up from the spinal cord to your cerebral cortex, right? So what are tracts? These are actually bundles of sensory nerve endings, and they carry two types of information. One is extroceptive, that means outside the body, and one is proprioceptive, that means inside the body. Outside the body is of some external stimuli. It can be of like a certain pain, temperature like a pain prick, or if a hot or cold object is brought close to your hand, that will be extroceptive information. Whereas proprioceptive information is from your muscles, from your bones, from anything inside your body, like your viscera, etc. So now this ascending tract, a tract that is going to travel, that is going to take the sensation upwards from the spinal cord to the cerebral cortex. It has in the simplest form, it has three orders of neurons: first order, second order, and third order. So first order neuron is mostly the posterior root ganglion. What is the posterior root? In your spinal cord you have an anterior root and a posterior root, and the posterior root is generally the root where the sensory information is coming in. So first order neurons, they are coming from the posterior root ganglion, and then these second order neurons are going to begin. The second order neurons, they are going to decussate. They can decussate either at the spinal cord level. Decussation means to cross onto the opposite side. So they can either decussate at the spinal cord level, or they can decussate at any medulla level, etc. The ones that decussate at spinal cord level, they are known as the lateral spinothalamic tract, whereas the one that decussate at the medulla level, they are known as the anterior spinothalamic tracts. So first order neurons, they are coming from posterior root ganglion. Second order neurons are ones that are going to decussate, and third order neurons, they are usually in this region, which is known as the thalamus region of your brain. And the sensory information usually lands on the ventroposterolateral nucleus of the thalamus, or VPL of the thalamus. And from here, so this was the first order neuron from the posterior root ganglion. The second order one that can decussate either at spinal cord level or medulla level. Then it moves up and it ends at the thalamus. From thalamus, the third order neurons, they are going to begin, and they end in the posterior limb of the internal capsule. And from here there are projection fibers which are going to emerge, and these projection fibers, they are going to take the information from the posterior limb of your internal capsule to your cerebral cortex in the form of corona radiata. Why it is corona radiata? It is because it's shaped like a crown, and crown is above the head, so it is shaped like a crown and it is radiating. So that is why these projection fibers are known as corona radiata. Now they are saying that the fibers which are taking the projection fibers which are taking the information, they can either land onto the sensory cortex, that is the mostly it is the posterior central gyrus, or they can land to other regions. And the other branches which are given to, they are to reticular formation. Reticular formation is the region of the brain that maintains wakefulness, that is going to apprise the body of our conscious activities, and the motor cortex, which is going to produce activities regarding to the sensory stimuli which is coming. So up till now we have studied that ascending tracts are the one which carry the information from the spinal cord to the brainstem, or from the spinal cord to the cerebral cortex, and in their procedure they are going to give out branches. Mainly they are going to carry this whole thing to the sensory cortex, but this sensory cortex is either going to give to the reticular formation, which is going to wake up the body, or the second part is going to give the motor cortex. So the motor cortex can bring out the reflex activities in relation to the type of stimulus that is coming, or the type of sensory stimulation that is coming. Now functions, there are different types of tracts we are going to study in this one, and the ascending tracts, they are either lateral spinothalamic tract, they can either be anterior spinothalamic tract, they can be posterior spinothalamic tract, they can be spinocerebellar tracts, cuneo cerebellar tracts, they can be spinocerebellar spinotactile tracts, and they can be spinoreticular tracts. As the name suggests, spinothalamic, it means it begins from the spinal cord, goes on to the thalamus. And the lateral spinothalamic tract, it carries the sensation of pain and temperature. So if we do it like this, the lateral one, it is going to carry the pain and temperature stimulation. The posterior spinothalamic tract is going to carry the sensations that are that of our discriminative touch and vibration. And then we have the anterior spinothalamic tract, which carries light touch. So posterior carries fine touch, whereas anterior carries light touch, and lateral one carries pain and temperature stimulation. Now we have the spinocerebellar tracts. It means that the sensations are going to go from the spinal cord to the cerebellum. They are usually, the cerebellum is associated with responding to changes in our position. So unconscious stimulation from muscles, from joint, and from the skin, they are carried by the spinocerebellar tract, which can be either anterior spinocerebellar tract, posterior spinocerebellar tract, or cuniocerebellar tracts. So unconscious information from our muscles, from our joints, from our skin, it is carried via the spinal cord to the cerebellum by the anterior, posterior, or cuniocerebellar tracts. Now we have spinotactile tract, or the spinovisual reflexes. It goes from the spinal cord to the tectum region of our midbrain. So this is the spinal cord and this is our midbrain, and over here we have the tectum region. So the information from the spinal cord to the tectum region of the midbrain, that is the spinotactile reflexes or the spinovisual reflexes, they are involved in carrying the sensory visual stimulations. The sensory visual stimulation are pain, thermal, and tactile, and they help us to distinguish where the pain, the thermal sensation, or tactile stimulation is coming from. They help to locate the sensation. And then we have the spinoreticular tract. This begins in the spinal cord and in the reticular substance of the brain. The reticular substance actually apprises the body of our conscious activities. So it maintains wakefulness. So the wakeful information or conscious information from muscles, joints, and skin, it goes via the spinoreticular tract. Whereas unconscious information from the muscle, joint, and skin, it goes via the spinocerebellar tract. So this is how we are going to divide the whole ascending tract into the whole principle. Now, what is a tract? A tract is a bundle of sensory nerve endings. So all this bundle, various sensory nerve endings are coming in when they combine together, like various sensory nerve endings, like if we comprise them of various pens, and when they come together and they are enclosed in a single sheath, then that is going to make a tract. So this is the main concept of the ascending tracts, and we have discussed how many tracts are there. They can be anterior spinothalamic, posterior spinothalamic, lateral spinothalamic. Anterior associated with light touch, posterior associated with fine touch and vibration. The lateral one associated with pain and temperature. And then we have the spinocerebellar tracts. In the spinocerebellar tracts, they can be anterior spinocerebellar tracts, posterior spinocerebellar, and cuniocerebellar tracts. And these tracts, the anterior one, the posterior, and the cuniocerebellar tracts, they are going to carry the unconscious information from the muscles, from the joint, from the skin. But the conscious information, it is carried by the spinoreticular tracts. And if we want to know where the thermal sensation, pain sensation, or tactile stimulation is coming from, we have the spinotactile or spinovisual reflexes for that. I hope you understood. With that, in the next pathway, we are going to discuss in the next video, inshallah, we are going to discuss the pain and temperature pathway, that is the lateral spinothalamic tract.